People, my very first book, Class of '86, is available for purchase today. Oh, Kitty, what are you doing here? You can't read yet. Okay, you can have it. It's the rollicking story of high school shenanigans with a touch of slashers and the Cold War, and maybe even a little post-apocalyptic at times. Everything that made the '80s great. Maybe someday it can be turned into a 3D movie. Class of '86 is available on ebook, paperback, and hardcover over at Amazon, and click on the links in the description to pick up yours. It was a blast to write, and I hope you have a great time reading it too.
That's right, everyone. I'm here. Just a few minutes late. Sure, I got a book to promote and everything like that. But most importantly, well, I had to restart the computer. That's basically it. And I had to keep the door open too, to make sure that the cats could also come in here. They were up there on their perch a second ago, but you blink your eyes and suddenly they're in not even just another part of the room. Half a second ago, I did see them sitting down there out of the corner of my eye, Bert and Pearl, but now I hear they're causing a ruckus in the kitchen. They're probably grabbing themselves something to eat too. I know I do. I've got my coffee sitting right here. I've still got, so just in case my stomach started to rumble a little bit. I do still have some of the BLT chips left over. I finished the hell out of the buffalo chicken ones that I had a couple of weeks ago, and the Cuban Lays as well. Finished those up, but right. Anyway, book to talk about. Oh, good, one of the cats is back. I had to make sure that Bert and Pearl were in here because they are on the thumbnail. They're on the thumbnail for this particular episode because my first choice was actually taking a picture of myself like in the tub holding up the book and reading, but like none of the pictures were flattering at all, which shows you how terrible the pictures turned out. Like I've done, I've been nude in videos before. I've danced like on the porch with a black bar over me and everything. I've eaten God knows what, sometimes live on camera, sometimes bugs and sardine candy canes. But none of the pictures of me reading the book in the bathtub. I'm like, I really don't want to use any of these, and I really got to get back to the gym. So I was like, well, what are the cats doing right now? Oh, they happen to be, they take their naps during the day when they're not running around the computer. They really only like being in here, one, when I'm in here editing. That's when they'll follow me in here, and then they get really curious as to what's behind the computer desk. And I have to be like, okay, well, I'm going to be in here editing in a while. Let me set you all out there. But sometimes, when they have their afternoon naps, then they'll be up there on the porch. That's when I got the pictures of them. And yeah, and put the books. They were laying down long enough for me to put a couple of books in front of them, take a quick picture, and use that as the thumbnail. The book, I know at the beginning of these streams I usually have Lloyd blowing something up, but I've had to restart the computer and everything, so Lloyd couldn't. Well, he kind of could, because the book itself, it's got an explosion right there on the cover, and Lloyd and Chloe approved as well, because hang on, I'll get to the different editions these are here in a second, but. Okay, that one. Is it this one? One of these has got a little Lloyd and... there it is. Okay, cool. Yeah, Lloyd's... There's still an explosion, and if something has got an explosion on the cover of it, and it's something I wrote, it's got to have a little dedication at the beginning of it to Lloyd and Chloe, wherever they are right now, approving that my first book has an explosion right there on the cover. I know I need my coffee so bad, I'll tell you why. Because I know I should be all like energetic and everything, and be like, oh, the book release, oh, that it's over on Amazon, oh my god, go pick it up today, the links are there, it's in paperback, it's in ebook, it's in hardcover, choose one or choose all three. Oh, I know I should be like very, very hyper right now. I am so tired. I am so tired because not only, and it's just a coincidence that this timed out like this. Like, yeah, certainly. I've been promoting the book a lot today and posting up links, keeping an eye on that and everything. And but also, I finished 1983. 1986 and 1983 are very important years for me this week. Because I finished 1983 in film. I haven't promoted it all today because I'm promoting the book, of course. But 1983 in film, I finished it yesterday and got it uploaded onto. It's on Patreon right now. So sure, I'm tired with the book and everything, but also tired because 1983 in film is like it's almost 4.5 hours long. It's like 4 hours and 23 minutes or something like that. So I finished it yesterday. Then it was rendering for a really long time. Now it's over on Patreon. So if you're more of a 1983 person than a 1986 person, meaning you probably love 80s 3D then. Then, well, you got 1983 in film over on Patreon, and also the year 1986 with the book. I loved getting these proof copies in the mail right here because they send you the proof copies just so in case anything's wrong, you need to fix it and everything. Understandably so, because I love that I've got these 3 editions of the book right here. One, there's this one, which is the very first one that was printed, in which I wanted my name to look a little bit different, so I put just this temporary font for my name on there, where I was like, okay, that's not what it's going to look like on the final one, just this meme font I got right there on the bottom. Oh, that'll be the one I keep. Then I get it in the mail. I open it up. This is like a couple of weeks ago. I look it up and I go like, wait a minute. There's supposed to be page numbers on books, unless people are just that good at remembering where they left off. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, my dumbass is sitting there like, I just automatically assumed the page numbers were automatically in there. It's my first book, can't you tell? No, that was a quick fix. That was just like hitting one button. So yeah, this one, this one's got the page number, so it's all good. So I got this one in the mail. Also the hardcover that was also a pre-page number edition. So I got all 3 of those right there. Ordered a bunch because I got some signings coming up. I'm gonna be at the Peoria Comic and Toy Show. That's coming up this month. That is the weekend of July 22nd. I believe it's a Saturday and Sunday only convention. I don't think they're doing the Fridays on that one, but it's the Peoria Comic and Toy Show. Ordered a bunch of books earlier. The ones that I ordered will have page numbers and won't have the little proof watermark not for resale thing right there. Oh man, like I said, still tired. We had 1983 took it out of me editing all that. All the 3D, so that's some eye strain right there. And there was a lot of Cold War movies that year. Especially towards the end of 1983, when I'm like, man, I'm just watching the Earth nuked several times here. Whether it's the Italian post-apocalyptic films or the day after, things go very south in that film. Then there's also there's like Special Bulletin, I think. Oh, there's a Testament and all that. Again, times out that I finished that video around the same time that I am releasing the book, which, as you can tell from the cover, bombs do drop in it. Hang on. And then yesterday, I remembered Oh, right. I've also got to go see Insidious 5. I got to see Insidious 5, and I got to do I got to see Insidious 5, and I got to do a review for that earlier, which I was like, okay, I'll get the review for that put up. I'll be able to attach a promo for the book on there, which felt weird, attaching a book promo to what is a negative review of a movie, but I still did. That's up there. It was interesting watching Insidious 5 because I really liked the first Insidious movie a lot. The second one I remember being kind of disappointed by, but then I do remember liking the third one. And the fourth one's fascinating to me in the sense of I remember nothing about it. I really don't. I know I saw it. I know I reviewed it. I can't remember the plot of it. I can't even remember really who was in it. I don't even remember if I liked it or not. I don't remember if I gave it a positive review or a negative review. There's a lot of I see a lot of movies to where there's ones that I reviewed that I don't really have a memory of necessarily, especially some older stuff on the Snob. There will be things like, oh, I guess I did review Playmate of the Apes. Okay. So there will be ones that I just kind of escape my memory for whatever reason. But I'll usually remember if I like the movie or not. I might forget details like, plot and everything. But but Insidious 4 is one where I'm like, I have forgotten it so much. I don't even remember what my consensus was on it. I don't remember if it was like, did I tell people to go see this or did I tell people to avoid it? Okay. That didn't make me confused about anything that happened in Insidious 5 necessarily, to give you an insight of what I thought of that movie. That's play. I lucked out. It's like, okay, I did have to finish 1983 this week, and that was going to take a lot of work. It's been taking a lot of work the past few months. I had to promote the book this week. So there is that. I did lug out where I really only had like one movie to go see, and that was Insidious 5. At least it's not a week where I had not just one 2.5-hour movie, but two 2.5-hour movies. Oh, I mean, I still did have like an over 2-hour movie this week, but they were nice enough to put it out on Monday. That's when I went to go see Sound of Freedom, which is like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something. So I got that one out of 11. So I only had the hour and 40-some minute Insidious. I'm already starting to forget Insidious 5. I'm going, what movie did I go see? Insidious. I went to go see Insidious 5. What did I think of it? It's been a long time since I've seen it. It's been almost 24 hours since I've seen the film. I've seen 5 movies since then. We do got some super chats that we'll get to. Then I'll get into some backstory on the book because I just want to talk a little bit about that. I don't want to. It's Friday night. I don't want to waste too much of your time. You got to go out and see Insidious 5, obviously. Okay, so let me go ahead and just see if we got any super chats in there waiting. We do. Okay, cool. But first, before I do that, I should get to the more important things, which is why I'm here. Of course, to talk about my book, which last I looked is now. Last I looked, it was like number 24 in the category of humorous science fiction. I can dig that. That's really cool. Like, I don't know how many I'm competing against in the category of humorous science fiction. It might not be that many. But if there is, that's cool. I'm number 24 right now. Let's get it to number 1. Number 1 in the category of humorous science fiction, which I am so glad that was a category because it was kind of hard for me to pinpoint a specific genre for it, really. I mean, it's through and through, it's a comedy. It's a dark comedy, but it's a comedy. But it does have different subgenres in it, whether it's starting out as like an 80s high school comedy, then there's all this Cold War stuff going on, then post-apocalyptic, then slasher. I was sitting there, like, when I was figuring out the Amazon site and everything, I was sitting there going, what is a category I put this in? I mean, it's like, so, when it's comedy, yeah, but like there's also horror, action, high school. I mean, it's not YA, it's dark. I mean, it's definitely an R. So it's like, oh, humorous science fiction. Oh, okay, that works. That works. And we're number 24 right now, baby. We are we are number 24 in humorous science fiction. That's really cool. So where this came about was this has been a story that we were working on for a really, really long time. If you've seen, I did an interview over at with my buddy Mike Phelan. I did an interview with him a couple weeks ago to promote the book, and it went up earlier. It's over on Clownfish TV. You can see the links to it over on my Twitter account as well. We got to talk about the backstory a lot on there too. So it was fun kind of reliving it. So I'm going to talk about, if you didn't see that interview, I'll talk about a little bit about that again. Where this came from was This had to have been over 20 years ago, because Ryan Mitchell, who directed Jesus Bro and the two Cinema Snob movies, he and we first met because we were both DJs. I used to be a DJ at an oldies station it's what, 25 years ago now. So I was a DJ for some years. So that's where me and Ryan went. I was on the oldie station. He was on the top 40 station. So he was in, and we hit it off really, really quick, and we got to be like great friends pretty early on. And whenever one of us would get in trouble at the radio station, we would both get in trouble at the radio station. So we snuck like pellet guns in there at one point. We're playing tag with them in the overnights. Then we remembered, oh wait, there's cameras here. Yeah, we got written up that day. So anyway, so he was in a film class, and they had to, at the end of their like final project was doing a short film. So he and I are sitting in the booth or the studio for his station, for the top 40 station, and we're going through different like ideas, and we bring up slasher movies. And so he was one, he at the time it was called like Fletcher. He said like, what if a killer had like a crossbow? So there's one point in it where the killer has a crossbow. So I got to thinking in my head, I was like, there was a lot of different movies that certainly inspired this, and one, I was talking to him. I was like, okay, we go with like the template that a lot of these do, which is, you know, stuff like Slaughter High, Terror Train, Prom Night, things like that, where, you know, it starts out, there's a prank gone wrong, something happens to like the nerdy kid, very, very much like Slaughter High. So that's the next Cinema Snob episode. It's another reason I'm tired. It turns out there was a lot to talk about with Slaughter High. It's almost a 30-minute Cinema Snob episode. So we were going off of that template. We were like, oh, we can do this short film that's like it's like a slasher. Something bad happens to the nerdy kid. He gets a crossbow. It's revenge. And then one thing, I really like stuff that is like post-apocalyptic for no reason, like Bruno Mattei's Rat's Night of Terror. If you haven't seen this movie, it's fantastic. It's this, when you break it down, it is just this killer rat movie. This killer rat movie where some bikers, they need some shelter, so they end up at this abandoned building where there's killer rats, and they have to survive the night against this horde of rats. And there's a great twist ending to it too that is amazing. That's going to be the next Cinema Snob episode after Slaughter High. So anyway, for no reason the movie is like post-apocalyptic. Like, it opens up with the bombs drop, or like stock footage of a bomb going off. There's like text going up that's filling in all of this wild backstory about how like society is now gone. Everyone's living on it's just deserts everywhere. Bikers are against each other. Off of this movie about like killer rats. So I say to Ryan, I go, dude, okay, what if, because, in slasher movies, something bad happens in the beginning, and then it's years later, the killer takes revenge, typically with a mask or something and a lot of sharp weapons. But, dude, what if in between those 10 years the nuclear holocaust happened? And I love that idea so much that I never forgot it. It was always something that I wanted to do. It was always like this dream project of mine. So I say to Ryan, I go, dude, what if the nuclear holocaust happened and they have to find shelter like in their school or something where the nerdy kid is? And then Ryan's like, well, I don't think this can be a short film anymore. So we ended up doing something else for this short film. The thing we did for the short film, it was like, it was me, Ryan, and it was Jake. And it was that Jake wanted to, he needed his DVD copy of Legend of Boggy Creek, but was afraid it was at his friend's house, and he was afraid he couldn't get there in time because he wanted to watch it with his date. So he used a matter transferring device to teleport him there to steal it from my character. That is the short film that we did. I have no idea if it still exists. I think it was called In Search of Boggy Creek or something like that. That we shot in like a day. But I always wanted to do this class of 86 thing. And so it was like 20 years ago. I was living in California. And I did write a script. I did. Like, I wrote it, knowing that back then I certainly wouldn't have the budget for it. But I always kind of hoped that I would eventually have the budget to make it. So I wrote this really long script for Class of 86, which is this, obviously a takeoff of slashers that also incorporates a lot of post-apocalyptic and Cold War stuff in it, and is mostly a comedy. So I held on to it for a long time, and eventually it got to the point where we all aged out of the characters, because I wrote it early enough to where we might have been able to get away with playing some of the characters had we ever done it as a movie. And we never, even if we eventually did have a budget for it, which it did get to a point where technically we kind of could. So much of it would have to have been like sacrificed and cut down. It might not have been that good looking of a movie. The effects might not have been very good. It would never look like, what I would want it to, which is like, if you crossed like, like a Dino De Laurentiis movie with Trauma or something. That's kind of what I was picturing in my head in terms of its aesthetic. And I knew if we ever did that in a movie, I'd be, no matter what it would be, I would probably be disappointed with it. So I always wondered if I could adapt it into something else, where I was even toying like, well, what if it was, this is around when we were doing the Lloyd animated series, and I was thinking like, well, what if it was like maybe a little animated series of like 10 plus segments like the Lloyd animated series was, and then didn't really go beyond that necessarily. In fact, I think that is one of the things I pitched when I was talking to ToonWorks about working on an animated series. But then it came down to like, well, Lloyd would be an easier one to do, the Lloyd animated, and I really love the Lloyd animated series too. But then for a long while I was like, the best way I could do something like this is to make it a book. Because with a book, I'm like, everything that I want to be in it, I can put in it. I can expand on all this stuff. And then going back and looking at like the first script that I wrote for it, I was like all of this has to be rewritten. Like boy, did I write this like 20 plus years ago. This dialogue's got to be gone. Like, I mean, obviously some stuff is still in there, but by and large, it's definitely tweaked, definitely rewritten quite a bit. A lot of it expanded on. I really like stuff where there is something kind of larger going on in the background that the characters are either oblivious to or are so all about themselves that they don't really care necessarily. So in this, I got to expand on that quite a bit, and I had a lot of fun writing that aspect of it, where in the first act of it, when it's their last year of school, and the characters are they're basically trying to cheat at this research paper, and they're obsessed with that because it might make or break their grade, and also they have everything with graduation going on too. But meanwhile, there's all this Cold War paranoia going on in the background. It is like you're watching this high school comedy with this set of characters that are trying to screw over the nerdy kid so they can get a good grade on something. Then it starts going south. But in the background, it's the events of the day after going on. like at the beginning of the day after, where there's like, you can see there's kind of panic going on in the background. You can see like, people are kind of starting to hoard stuff and stock up on things at the store. Not that many people are at their graduation, but they are still like, man, we got to get that nerdy kid. So I had fun really expanding on that and looking at the types of things I was writing 20 years ago. It works out we didn't make this into a movie. I think that if we do ever make it a new movie, it should still be us playing the parts. It should still be us playing the part, us all being in our 40s right now. Well, that would go along with it, it would, especially all of the high school movies that I saw in doing the 80s and film series that I do. Most of them don't look that much older than I do. I've got some more gray. That's about it. I dye my facial hair, I could play a teenager in a 1980s movie. So that's where it all came from. And it was a long time coming, where, like I said, I was wanting to turn it into a book, and then eventually, because I get distracted on a lot of things, I'll be like, oh, I want to do this big project, but then I do the Cinema Snob every week. All the movies I gotta go see. It's very, even without all that, it's very easy for me to get distracted anyway. Until I was finally like, okay, I'm gonna take some time off the Cinema Snob. I'm really gonna focus in on finishing this book, because I did try turning it into a book a while ago, a number of years ago. I did. I did write quite a bit of it, but again, it that also had to be severely rewritten. Even when I was going through and looking at that, it had too much in common with the first script that I wrote. It was maybe a little bit too snarky, and the book is kind of snarky, but it was when I took a first crack at it in adapting it into a book, because I'm used to script writing. So that was fun to do too, was kind of like do all of these different drafts and get better and better at and get better and better at novel writing, especially because writing action too, because I'm more so, if you've seen any of my movies, I'm more so of a dialogue writer. But anyway, I know that we've got some super chats in here. I never thought this day would come where I would actually finish this and have this out. So I hope you do pick it up. Again, whether it's in paperback, hardcover, ebook. I am so tired that I'm sitting here like, what's my book on again? It's like carved onto a wall, right? Or something. It's in 3D. It's an 80s movie. It's in 3D, right? Oh, it's 1986. I don't know if there was much 3D then. I think the last big 3D movie in the 80s was in 1983, and that was Amityville 3D. Okay, let me look at... answer some super chats on here. Thanks a bunch for hanging out with me, people. Me and my tired ass. Like I said, it's a long week. So much editing between the long episode of Slaughter High, the long episode of Slaughter High, and also 1983 in film. It's 4.5 hour video. Okay. Danny McGraw says, hello, Brad. What is your favorite movie with Jimmy Stewart? He says his is Anatomy of a Murder. I really like The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. That might be the one I've seen the most. Or Rear Window. seen Rear Window a number of times. Probably Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, him and John Wayne, the John Ford movie. It's got that great part where you got Strother Martin who says when Liberty Valance drops the hat, John Wayne tells him to pick it up, and Strother Martin goes, "I'll get it for you, Liberty." It's just John Wayne just like kicks him in the face or kicks him in the ass or something. It's a great scene. The two of them are very, very good together in the movie. Of the Ford movies, that might be the one that I even saw the most too. Yeah, I would say it might be that one. Again, a great theme song that isn't even in the movie. ZNEP27 goes, any chance for a Cinema Snob episode on Class of 1984 or Class of 1999 and its sequel? I might. Believe it or not, it really isn't what inspired the movie, even though the title is similar, but the title came later for Class of 86. Like I said, when Ryan and I were probably drunk and, kind of wanting to make that short film, he was wanting to call it Fletcher because it was that's the name of the villain in it, and also the name of something else I can't remember. But pretty quick, I was like, "Oh, Class of '86, that'll work." I think that was around when I was turning it into a script. So it's been called Class of '86 for a while, but because of Class of 1984, that's why it is like 1986. Because really, with a lot of the paranoia and scare stuff in it, you'd see in a lot of movies around 83 or 84. I mean, sure, it's plenty in 86 as well. But there was, 83 did have like The Day After and stuff like that. But I wanted to be a little bit, not as close to 84, so 86, that'll work. I mean, it did, Oh, I want to give big props to for Sean Millington, who does... for so many years has done just such great work on the title cards, and he was the first and only person I asked about with the book cover. And Class of 1984 was like an inspiration on the cover. I was like, something like this, but they got skulls and there's a bomb going off on the back, and they got a van behind them and everything. And he's done just amazing work, like for the past... It's well over 10 years now, I think, that Sean has done the title cards for us. And I always can't wait to see what he does next in terms of the title cards. Because really, I just give him a title. It's only been maybe once or twice when I had like a specific idea for the title card. Other than that, it's just the title and like, just seeing what he does with it. I always feel bad when it's like when I'm doing like a series and they could all have pretty similar title cards. You know what I mean? To where eventually like it's hard to come up with something. He's talked about that before. Like when it would get around to doing like, the 7th Hellraiser movie, or late into the Friday the 13th, or Thunder Warrior 3, or one of the later Pierre Kirby movies, he would write to me and be like, yeah, he's like, I had to think of something for this. I'm like, I guess it's just a variation on another one. Like I put Thunder in a different position with the gun. I'm like, I always can't wait to see what he does. I want to say, what's one of the times where I did have I think it was Cannibal Holocaust, where I wrote and said, like, yeah, I've got a specific idea for this one, to have the snob, like, impaled on the stick, like in Cannibal Holocaust. That was one of the only times. Other than that, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to see what it brings me. I mean, I had an idea for this. I wrote to him, and I said, like, the 6 characters dressed like how they are in the post-apocalyptic scenes, and a bomb going off in front of their van. I went off on that. I'm like, what was the question again? Oh, right. Will there be a snob episode on Class of 1984? Yeah, that would be fun to do. I don't know about any time soon. Well, maybe I'll do it soon. I do talk about Class of 1984 in either... Oh, it was 1982 in film. Yeah, I just finished 1983 in film. It's in 1982 in film. I do talk about it a little bit. Okay, Dave Valensky goes, "Hey Brad, been a huge fan of yours for years. There's an 80s raunchy comedy that has Joe Baker. Is this going to be Joysticks? Who, as a mayor who has to shut down an arcade. Yep, it's Joysticks. I see raunchy 80s comedy and Joe Don Baker. I'm like, okay, I don't think it's going to be what was the what was the comedy I did a snob episode on it. I think it was it from the same director? The parody movie that had George Kennedy in it, and it was a spoof of like horror movies and things like that. And it was pretty bad. It was, what was the name of it? I'm waiting for the chat to tell me what the name of it was. For a second, I was sort of like, is he going to be talking about that? But then I was like, oh no, wait, it's going to be Joysticks. Oh, his question is, what was the name of that film and what is the year it came out? Oh, that's the easiest question I've ever gotten. I've already answered it. It's Joysticks. 1980. Wacko. Thank you. The chat, that Halloween movie I'm thinking of was Wacko. Thank you so much, chat. No, Joysticks. I know it came out in 1983 because I talk about it a little bit in the 1983 in film episode. My friend Kermit Wazowski says, any chance of an audiobook edition somewhere along the line? You've got the voice for it. I do, yeah, I do. I get long-winded a lot easier now, so I don't know how long it'd take me to do that. I mean, if anyone else wants to, go for it. I don't know when I would have the time to do that. I'm already like taking notes on my next book right now. But hey, if someone offers me to do it, I'll do it. Might take me quite a few sessions. Dr. Gold Dry Bowser goes, will you be doing DVD-R Hell or DVD-R Heaven again? Also, do you not do thumbnail artworks anymore? Oh, well, that was the first question. I would really love to start doing those again. It's just been hard to do DVD-R Hell and DVD-R Heaven between doing a regular snob episode during the week and then doing the part of the year in review ones, and then also the movies that are out in theaters. Yeah, it would just be hard to do it without getting rid of something. If I honestly, like I'll probably severely be cutting down on the. I mean, I already have like kind of cut down on the amount of movies I go see in the theater, just because I want to be home more. With Laura's pregnant, our son's gonna be here in a couple of months, so. I will be spending a lot of time at home. So, and those, people do like those, and they don't take terribly long to do. So maybe that could be something that I do bring back. The second part of your question. Oh yeah, Sean was away for a little bit. He was visiting some family, so there was just a few weeks there where I just did some thumbnails on my own. Plus, where he was, when he was out of town anyway, but also he had like no internet connection where he was either. So yeah, there was like a few weeks there where I just did the title cards, and I think he is gonna replace the temp ones that I put up. Like I had to do one for the Hong Kong, the Reagan Indiana Jones one, and also Leatherface and Phantasm. But he's back now, so I think there'll be some that replace those temporary ones that I put up. When Fat Kills Fat 80. What do you have in mind for March? Oh, for musical March in September? He recommends Hard to Hold with Rick Springfield and Graffiti Bridge. Those would be good choices. Or that one. What about that one with Roy Orbison? Was it like Fastest Guitar in the West or something like that? He's either got like a guitar case full of guns like in Desperado, or his guitar shoots. I can't remember. That one would be a good one to do. We'll see. I'm playing, like, the due date is October 1st for our son, so I am playing September by ear. A lot of things I'm already kind of playing by ear, but yeah, we'll see about that. some stuff might have to wait a while. Jacob Matthew Crawford goes, congratulations, wearing my Lloyd approved shirt in celebration. Just ordered myself a paperback copy. Thank you so much. He says he might do a Fresh Thoughts blog after reading it. Asks me if it sounds like a fun idea. No, it sounds terrible. Don't do it. No, that would be great. Yeah, attach the link too. Over in the comments over on Twitter as well. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much. MH We Eat Nation goes, hey Brad, 2 questions. What are your favorite Alan Arkin films? He knows them from Little Miss Sunshine and Argo. And what would my pick be for the worst film of '83? Worst film of '83. '83 was a very bad year for sequels. So much so that on Siskel and Ebert, their episode on the worst films of '83 was all geared towards sequels. So, man, Smokey and the Bandit 3 would be up there for one of the worst of '83, if not the worst of '83. I do talk about this a little bit in the video, in that, like, honestly, the worst one from what I hear everyone talk about is probably Boogeyman 2, but surprisingly, I've not seen Boogeyman 2, so I can't really say it's the worst. I need to do an episode on Boogeyman just so I can get to Boogeyman 2. I hear a lot. I imagine it probably is worse than Smokey and the Bandit 3. Favorite Alan Arkin films? I love Wait Until Dark. Very against type role, and he's freaking terrifying in it. That one, I remember going to see the Jerky Boys movie in the theater with my mom. He's in that. He plays the bad guy. Not one of his best movies by any means, but my friends and I will still quote it a lot sometimes, especially some of his lines from the movie. My mom and I could only see the first half of that movie in the theater because the fire alarm went off, so we had to leave, and we couldn't go back later to go see it because the movie wasn't out for very long. So I did, but as soon as it hit video, I was with my dad, and I was like, I want to see the rest of the Jerky Boys movie, and I liked it better than he did. Russians Are Coming is really good. That's totally one of his best. Nathan Taylor, when will 1983 in film be coming to YouTube? It's got to go through. I'm waiting on the title card for it, but also it's got to be unlisted for a little while just to see if any copyright claims come up. Because there's hundreds of movies that get talked about in it, and it's a 4.5-hour video. Already there is a copyright thing for A Christmas Story. So whether that's going to take a while or not, I don't know. But that one is, we got to wait for the Christmas Story segment of it to clear, which I think happened over 3 hours into the episode. Okay. Sorry, just looking for. I had to scroll down to get the recent ones. Okay, Drunken Buddha goes, something wrong happening to a nerdy kid. That's the Toxic Avenger. Any chance of a snob episode? Oh yeah, Toxic Avenger is one of the ones we were talking about too. When I was coming up with the synopsis of this, I would totally do an episode on Toxic Avenger is one of my favorite movies of all time. When Lloyd Kaufman. When he played my dad in another Cinema Snob movie, he brought me a autographed Toxic Avenger poster, and I got it in my office. I've used it in the back of some Cinema Snob episodes. I've got a Toxie figure over on my shelf over there that I've had, in the same room as I'm editing all the time. It's like a good luck charm. I've got the Tox box right there that we pick like potential Snob episodes out of. I should put the Toxic Avenger in the actual Tox box for a choice. I would love to do that. Again, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's easily in my top 5 favorite movies. LA Wolfman, just simply put in a nice super chat contribution. Thank you so much. That means a lot. I'm sorry I'm so tired right now. Like I said, it has been a long week of editing and promotion and all that. So I'm sorry, I'm so tired, but I did want to come here tonight and do a special stream, just kind of rambling, hanging out, talking a little bit about where the book came from and everything, and answering some super chats. Dave Valensky goes, one of your anti-rock religious propaganda what's that? One of your anti-religious propagandas. Like, I know he means Rocket's Your Decision. Movies was one of the movie. Oh, okay, I got you. Sorry, there's a weirdly placed period in there. One of the religious propaganda anti-rock movies was a movie that my mom made me watch when I started getting into punk and metal bands. All it did was make me discover new bands. I know. I was thinking about that when I think you might be. Maybe that's not Rocket's Your Decision. Maybe it's Hell's Bells. The Hell's Bells, because I do remember that about the Hell's Bells anti-rock documentary propaganda things, where they are showing clips and spotlighting a lot of not totally mainstream bands. So I'm looking at that going, this is honestly introducing a lot of people to this music that are probably in your position, where you're into those kind of things for sure. But now watching this, it's like, well, now I just have a whole other list of bands to add to my collection and to seek out. It kind of is like Deception of a Generation, where they're showing clips of cartoons where you'd be like, oh, what's this 80s cartoon that I'm familiar with the main ones, but what's this? Oh, I haven't revisited this in a long time. I should check out more of this. Some of them are just kind of fun to watch just for pure nostalgia reasons, like Rocket's Your Decision, when he's in the old 80s mall that looks like the mall I grew up with, like the White Oaks Mall in Springfield. It kind of looked a little like White Oaks did back in the 80s, and the record store he's in that looked like a Licorice Pizza, and even the way their houses look, it's like, oh, there's the pillars like we had, like in the entryway into the kitchen. There's the shag carpeting and the wood-paneled walls. It was actually kind of cozy and comforting going back and watching something like Rocket's Your Decision. Jacob Matthew Crawford goes, I don't know about 1983, but I got a good contender of worst of 84. Oh, you're right about this. Best Defense with Dudley Moore and Eddie Murphy. What do you think of it? Best Defense is bad. And it was just like, Eddie was on a roll in this time, man. Between 48 Hours and Trading Places and Beverly Hills Cop. And then there's Best Defense, which he wasn't even originally supposed to be in until they shot extra footage of him to insert him into this already made Dudley Moore movie. I talk a little bit about it in 1983 because I think it's either December or November of 1983 that Deal of the Century came out. That's a very similar kind of movie. It's directed by William Friedkin. It's written by Paul Brickman, who did Risky Business. It stars Chevy Chase, Gregory Hines, and Sigourney Weaver. And the plots are a little similar, where they're both comedies about like the arms race. And they originally were supposed to compete with each other at the box office, but they delayed Best Defense probably to shoot the Eddie Murphy stuff and to add it into it. And I remember at one point, I didn't mention this in 1983, but this memory hit me. I remember at one point my dad, like, meshing the two movies together. Like, when I first heard of Best Defense, I was a kid, and my dad said something like, oh, yeah, there's also this bad one with he goes, it's called Best Defense. It's with Eddie Murphy and Chevy Chase, I think. And then I found the movie he's talking about. I'm like, oh, Best Defense. Oh, it's not Chevy Chase. It's Dudley Moore. And then it hit me years later. I was like, oh, he was combining the two movies. He was combining both Best Defense and Deal of the Century. I could see that, honestly. Deal of the Century is not great, but it's better than Best Defense. Yeah, if you say Best Defense is your worst of 84, I don't know how much I can argue with you. It's a mess. And I love Dudley Moore. Love Eddie Murphy. That movie doesn't work, man. Yeah, I can't wait till I get to that on I can't wait to get to that in 1984 in film when I do that next year. Okay. Dr. Gold Drybowser goes, how come Snob chats more than the reviews or movie audio? How come Snob chats more than the reviews or movie audio? Are you asking? Yes. Is it to avoid copyright and all? Yeah. If you're asking what I think, why the audio, a lot of it's me talking over it, and the actual audio clips of the movie are kind of short. Yeah. It's to keep within the time frame that we have for like clips, whether it's audio clips or even the clips that I'm talking over, inserting a cut in there typically in under 7 seconds. There is like a window. So a lot of times it varies from studio to studio, but there is, we're always like, don't go over about 7 seconds. And if you have to get set more than 7 seconds in there, put some kind of chop in there. Some kind of chop, like maybe the original clip holds on a reaction for a while, and you kind of just condense it while keeping the dialogue in there that you need to keep in there. It all has to do with copyright, with content ID and all of that. Okay. I think I got one more in here. Then I'll go ahead and get out of here. Andrew Bechtel says, hey, Brad, longtime watcher. Looking forward to check out the new book. Sounds great, man. Well, that was an easy one to get through. Oh, thank you. I don't have a long-winded answer for that at all, or a scatterbrain answer, because I am so tired doing this right now. But no, thank you so much. I really, really do hope you enjoy it. Like I said, I think right now we're sitting at number 24 in the category of humorous science fiction. Not sure if it's gone up or down since then, but it would be awesome to see it go up more. Already 24 is pretty cool, but going up, that would be sweet. So, if you're ever sitting there and you're thinking, I need a book in my collection that's a wacky teen comedy at first, like Porky's, or maybe not as spoofy as Screwballs, but in the genre of early mid-80s teen sex comedies, but mixed in with a lot of Cold War paranoia and post-apocalyptic films, just stuff like Rat's Night of Terror, minus the rat part, but keeping in the apocalypse part. Things like New Barbarians or Exterminators of the Year 3000 or Stryker, films like that. Most of those talked about in 1983 in film. And you want a little dose of slasher movies too, especially stuff like Slaughter High. Well, you got it right here in this book. And there's links to it in the description. It's on ebook, paperback, hardcover. I am going to be at the Peoria Comic and Toy Show on the weekend of July 22nd. And then in August, I'm going to be at Planet Funk Con. In August. So if you want to come see me there, have your book signed, go for it. I'll be there all weekend. Maybe make sure you hit that sweet spot when I'm sitting there stuffing my face with a convention hot dog. But all right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for chilling out here with me. I'm sorry I'm so tired, but I wanted to do a little something on here for you and talk about the book a little bit. And thanks for your great questions. I really hope you enjoy reading it. And I got to get that King Frat music in here for the end bumper. Take care. Have a great weekend.
King Frat. Everybody come join the party.